Call the City Council of West Liberty to order, and we are joined tonight by a full slate with Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Shiltz, Mayor Pro Tem McFerrin, Councilmember Dominguez, and Councilmember Parizek. So first item then is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
To approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will move to item number 3, which is approval of the consent agenda, and that includes the City Council minutes from June 2nd, and also approval of tobacco licenses for the local businesses of Dollar General, Gary BP, Casey's General Store, and Jeff's Market. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we move to item number 4, which is beer and liquor licenses. It is a 12-month Class C retail alcohol license for Artie Ice Cream and Grill that expires on June 29th, 2027. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we move to item number 5, reports. First up is the city engineer. Do we know anything on the pool?
They completed their on June 11th. ISG team came and they reviewed the pool, started taking a look at mostly with leaking. We're looking at the equipment. I have not heard an update yet on the equipment. I know that they did a ride and they were looking through it. And fortunately, we had significant rain that helped, put some water in the pool
Yeah.
for them to take a look at. So,
All right, city staff reports. So, city manager.
I do not have anything. Most of everything that we've been working on over the last few weeks are on the agenda tonight. A bigger part of time, there's been several HR items that had needed administrative time and address it.
Any other city reports? All right, committee reports. The Finance and Ordinance Committee met. Councilmember Dominguez, I think we'll discuss later unless you have some comments you want to make.
No, I can discuss during the agenda item.
Okay, all right, thanks. City manager, any other comments or reports? Or
I've not received anything else. Currently still looking through. We've got a meeting set up with West Liberty Foods this week to continue our discussion with the wastewater treatment plant phase 1 project and those costs associated with it. In addition to that, I believe everything's on the agenda that will be covering.
okay, I'm sorry, I was on the wrong line.
That's okay.
On the report.
That's all right.
So, council
We're
reports.
just rolling with it.
Any council reports to give? I will mention that we had the fire meeting on June 8th, and we'll discuss more of the later on the agenda item on the desire to have a extension on transfer of emergency services. I'm also working with the fire department. They received a Carver grant for $75,000 and purchased an ambulance that will be registered and licensed in their name or in the agency's name. And we have a proposal to have that licensed to the city. And so I'm working on that, sending drafts back and forth with our attorney on the lease agreement for that. All right. Next up, then our item number 6, which is a vendor voucher claim list number 1 in the amount of $310,759.52.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will move on to item number 7, which is a time for public comments and correspondence. And it's where the public can speak. We ask that you state your name and address for the record, and that you keep your comments to no more than 2 minutes. Are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to city council public comments and start with council member Martinez.
I don't have any at this point.
Council member Shiltz.
I did meet with City Manager Geertz over the weekend. Again, I appreciate you coming up Monday to work with our schedules. I'm working with her on a resident down near Kimberly Pool that has noticed some trouble with parking along the roadway that goes back in there. And with them exiting their driveway, it gets tight when there's a bunch of events and cars down there. So they are looking into that, and I'm also continuing to work on the nuisance issue on East 6th Street. So,
Mayor Pro Tem McFerrin.
Nothing at this time.
Council member Dominguez.
I did meet with a constituent yesterday morning who had concerns about costs for the 6th Street. And we kind of talked through, what some of those concerns were. This person was pro keeping the brick too, which I know is a hot topic in the community, and is going to look at some other communities, do some market analysis of how keeping brick can help with tourism and things like that, which I really appreciate. And then just more discussions about the pool, about the importance of needing the pool. I think people are really feeling it. I know my kids are really feeling not having it open, and myself included. I can't lie, especially since it's getting warmer and things like that. And then, there was one more thing. I don't think I can remember the other thing. I think that was it.
Mr. Mayor, if I could real quick, just to clarify, we are stockpiling the bricks that will be removed, correct? And we'll hold those for any future projects that might pop up.
Yep, and then also our public works director said that if the public would like to have some of the brick, because the existing brick is there, and it's not in a condition where it can be put back. So that's a part of the cost, is that what they identified is the, a new type of brick like what's in the downtown. So, but the existing brick will be removed, and then the public, if they want to take some of the brick for themselves, they can, when we will place a pile, and if there's potential, and I know the mayor has already sent out for discussion to do more of a historic preservation. Again, when we spoke with individuals, we did communicate. So all of our inventory on our streets are identified if they have brick on them. So when we go into the engineering study, they know right away that it's a brick street. And then they're already identifying whether it can be saved, what the cost is going to be, how much of it is, and and how does it fit that, the street and with the infrastructure and things going on. And like I said, those were things that they spent quite a bit of time to identify why we weren't going to stay with the brick on that.
Thank you.
Council member Dominguez, was that everything, or did?
I think so. I mean, this person was very kind, knowing that I'm not a fan of the brick, and was, you know, it was still a lovely conversation, and
Yeah.
but I also like sympathize and would love if we could keep it. I just think like from a budget standpoint, it's not feasible. So
No, but again, I mean, I think just to close up that conversation is, it just goes back to identifying, you know, and looking at our historic downtown area and having the opportunity to identify that. And for example, you know, in the future, if when we get to the point of upgrading, for example, the Calhoun section that comes into the downtown area, if we would identify fiscally spending money more to keep work identified in that historic area versus just randomly throughout our
throughout the
community.
city, yeah.
I think that we're going to be able to accomplish a lot of the things that individuals that are pro brick would like to see. At the same time, we accomplish what, you know, the other members of our community that are not pro brick would prefer as well. So I mean, I think it's just about finding that balance and making sure that we are continuing to invest into the aesthetics and celebrate that historic piece. So yeah.
Councilmember Parizek.
Yes, I was contacted on some concern of the congestion of some parked cars on Fifth Street near the intersection of Columbus. There's like like a fix-it shop or something. I don't drove down there today. I didn't see a name or anything on the business. Is it a business itself?
Yep.
There was quite a few cars parked, and some of them were hanging out into the street a little bit, so they thought they're being able to see effectively sometimes is a hindrance.
Yep.
So said I would bring it up so we could look into it.
Yep, we'll take a look at it. I know the owner of the business, and anytime we've had a conversation with them, they've been very receptive and good about working with us. But I will speak to Eddie tomorrow and just have him go down and have a conversation with the business owner. So
Good. All right. So this was the area I already asked if I was on the wrong place on the agenda. So anything else to add on correspondence or?
I do not have anything else to add for correspondence from the city manager.
City clerk?
We do not have anything at this time.
Okay, thanks. All right, with that, we'll move on to item 8A, authorization. First is the council action on authorization to execute a settlement agreement. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Martinez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Dominguez,
Yes.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Shiltz.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, then we move to item 8B, discussion and possible action on the extension of EMS services under the memorandum of understanding to continue operation under the city of West Liberty for an extended period. And so the process is that we have discussion, then we have a motion, and then we have roll call vote on this. So also we have Larry Miller here, who serves with council member Parizek and me on the Fire and Rescue Agency Board. So are there any comments or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would just let you know that Attorney Morgan is on
Yes. Yes.
on Zoom with us. So again, if council has questions, he's available to address those as well.
I'm a little confused. I've been out of the prior discussion, but I thought that there was a strong desire by the agency to have this transferred by July 1. Now, is
Yes.
there a problem?
Yes. First of all, I think all of us who've been through this process know that there's been quite a bit of contention about this whole process. And July 24th of 2024, there was a meeting. I was on Ragbar. I think that you were in attendance of the meeting, and possibly Councilmember Shiltz were in the meeting. And at that time, the city proposed that the fire and rescue services be transferred over effective July 1st of 2025. And that there be an additional year for transfer of emergency medical services, and that those would be transferred over by July 1st of 2026. There was quite a bit of hard feelings or difficult feelings that were expressed during that time. And then in January of 2025, if my memory is correct, we went to mediation, and it was agreed upon that the emergency medical services would be transferred over by July 1st of 2026. And there was a provision, and actually I proposed this provision that be in the memorandum of understanding, unless the agency requested additional time. There are three different things, and I think those are in not in the packet, but were sent out by the city clerk alongside of the packet for tonight. There are three things that needed to be done for as part of the moving of these services. The first is to have the ambulance board be discontinued. And with the intent that those services would be brought over to the fire and rescue board at that point. The second was that the agency needed to provide a similar benefit package to what the city was providing to the employees. And the third one was that the agency had to become eligible for reimbursement through Medicaid and Medicare. As we get to this point, I know we had a discussion on our March 3rd, 2026 meeting about transferring one of our ambulances over because the agency could not become Medicare or Medicaid eligible without a vehicle, without an ambulance. And so we approved that at our March 3rd meeting. Then one of the ambulances, number 427, I think, the engine was blown in that ambulance, and that went back to us having the loaner from Wapello and so forth. The long and the short of it is, I don't know from the request for the extension and from participating on the board, which things have been done on preparing for the transition and which things are still outstanding. And so one of the things that we've recommended is that we obtain that information. The board also, we had 3 members of the board who worked very diligently to do changes to the 28E agreement for the bringing on of emergency services. That was also outlined that something needed to be done on that in the memorandum of understanding. The recommendation from our attorney is that there be an amendment, but that the original 28E agreement stands as written. So you have before you some recommendations from staff on what a resolution would, or what a motion would look like or could look like. And of course, you have the right to make changes to that. But that's kind of an overview. If I've left out anything, other members of the board can add in information that I may have left out here, or others that have worked on this.
And Mayor, the motion portion was sent by City Manager Geertz. The
I'm sorry.
memo was sent by me in a separate document with the council packet. It's the second attachment, but the motion is sent from me in the documents that were sent to you.
Only thing I'd like to say is we're asking for more time, but we're hoping to have it done by 1st of July. Correct, Mark, in that year.
Yeah,
Depending what the lawyer, I don't know, said and whatever, then we have to go and get signatures from everybody in the trustees, rural trustees and city council and all that, and that might, take a little while, but our goal is not to use the extension, but we mainly want that extension so our employees will still be getting paid.
And everything as far as benefits and Medicare, Medicaid, that's all pretty much almost completed, and also the what's the other thing? Like
Yeah, I think
insurance and
we got
everything.
the,
You've got
we got the ambulance, I think the Medicare, Medicaid going to our department is ready to go.
okay.
The question I have is, in the recommendations, it said all required materials and documentation must be submitted to the city no later than June 28th, 2026 for review and verification by city staff and legal counsel, and failure to meet the above conditions and deadline will result in the automatic expiration of the extension, and EMS services shall remain under city operation until such time as all conditions are satisfied and formally approved. So
It's essentially saying that from a timeline, we need to have the items per the MOU, the prerequisites presented. Because if by the 28th, those items are not done, then we're saying that we're gonna continue to operate because we do not want a gap. And, by law, we are required to send notice to those that staff the EMS that based on this agreement that the transition will no longer have a service, so we no longer employ. Our situation is that from a timing perspective, the 28th, it's cutting it really close because we have to know how to transition, and we don't know how that staffing is going to be received. Those are the pieces that we've not been provided. And I believe everybody has the same goal, is no one wants there to be a gap. No one wants people unemployed that are servicing EMS. But again, I mean, we're running out of time to make sure that can all be done. And so that's why we're saying the 28th. And if we don't have it by then we, the city, would continue to operate that department.
So
that
the
EMS.
employees will continue.
Correct.
That's what my question was. Okay.
Because we need to have time to be able to communicate to them.
Yeah.
Please don't leave us. You're gonna have we need to.
Break even
I mean,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And is that how it's understood on the agency to work, and then the date would be September 30th? But you're saying we wouldn't need that much time,
No,
but
don't think we would, like I said, our goal is to have it done in time.
So if it's like the end of July and everything's completed, then that could potentially be a transition as soon as all the paperwork is in? Or do you, we
For
have
the documents that we received, the agency requested a 12-month extension as part of their request. And the recommendation that staff is saying is that we would not want to right away move into a 12-month extension. We would want to move to make essentially a 90-day extension,
which is
especially if especially since their goal is not to take it. And just from an operation perspective is it, in addition to the transition act, when it does occur, you have another additional approximately 6 months to move revenues and expenditures and billing and all of these things. So So every time we push that out, we're actually pushing out our budget, we're pushing out the actual finalization of that transition. And so we want it to be successful and we want to be able to have
I want to know where we're asking for a 1 year extension though, were we?
that was in the information that we received from Miss Sazmazer.
Okay.
Her email was a 12-month extension. Yeah.
Dan, any comments from you on this as we mull through this issue?
Mayor, I think you said me. No, I think pretty much everyone summarized it pretty well. You know, the only comment I would say is I think the mediation was in December rather than January that year, Mayor. But the point is that at the time, you know, we were focusing on the fire, which I think has been has gone forward as planned and has been successful in that regard. You know, the ambulance services were just something that was a little bit unique because of the billing, because of the other kind of hurdles, which is why they were in the memorandum of understanding to get there. You know, I do feel confident that we can get there. There's just those conditions precedent that, in my opinion, the city really needs to see. So that way we're making sure everything is relatively smooth and seamless. And I find it very admirable. I hope that it can get done by the end of the month, but I think realistically, at least my understanding of the MOU was that the existing rural ambulance board would dissolve and basically transfer its operations and everything into the existing agency, and obviously they would need to have some action from the rural ambulance board to effectuate that goal. So maybe we can get it all done by the end of the month, but I'm just not so sure. So, but if we can get done by the end of July or early August, that's great. So maybe 12 months isn't necessary, but that is consistent with what we received. So beyond that, I don't have a lot else to add.
I do want to make a point, that just so it's clarified on record that once we know the transition's gonna happen and at that date, then we send a letter of termination to employees to let them know, correct? That they're no longer gonna be with us, they're gonna be with the agency. We, all right, was that right?
No, our letter is a letter of notice of a separation notice.
Separation, okay.
And we have no, authority on the agency side of who they hire. That'll be their process. But since at the definite time of transition, and that's what the notices went out, because based at the beginning of the month of June, it was our understanding at that time that the transition would move forward, and it still could possibly. That we are legally obligated to let our employees know that we will no longer have a department or service, and that it's due to the transition.
Okay,
Good. So, and for us, I mean, again, if we're going to rescind that, we want to do that in a timely basis. Because, with the notice already there, I mean, we may have individuals that have, found employment elsewhere, or they don't know, because I can't speak for the agency. So we certainly, nobody wants to have anybody in limbo, right? And so the sooner we can get that piece, but most importantly, we have, as Dan's saying, as Mayor say, is, we have to dissolve because we have an existing boards with the ambulance too. So meeting those three things, I think it's doable. I don't it's just, we've got to do the due diligence of making sure they're done right.
Of those three things, has any of it? None of it has been completed in the time allotted up until now, a month before we were expecting for it to switch over.
Let me ask my fellow board members to my knowledge, we do not know that any of these issues have been completely resolved.
Well, I guess if there's sorry.
Yeah, as far as I know, I got on the board just a few months ago, so I'm not sure 100% of what.
And I missed the last meeting, so I apologize. But I'm trying to play catch up on that. So I was trying to read through some of this. So do we know how for this extension it kind of just the the expenses and all that stuff are the same as they are today? Or
So a part of that extension is, what I'm saying, or what we are asking is, because we do not have a fiscal budget planned. And part of the extension is having, an understanding of how we're going to manage those, staffing and all of those operating expenses.
Is we anticipated at July 1, which is the beginning of our fiscal calendar. So, obviously, if we're gonna have an extension, we're gonna have to do a budget amendment because we, just we completed the budget, submitted it, and with the, promise that July 1 was the date that we were gonna make that transition. That's why.
That leads to, I'm looking for some confidence that the prerequisites that have already been sent out in that MOU that I guess I'm understanding have not been completed.
I would assume the ambulance board has been dissolved, but I don't know that for sure. That was one of the things, but
Now, the city hasn't received
okay.
any of the formalities. We've not received,
Notices.
the
Signed.
per the MOU, the city hasn't received, a confirmation that these things have been completed. And I again, I mean, if they have, then obviously this can simply be resolved within our time frame. If not, then again, I mean, the importance of the extension is that we certainly, all of our goal is not to have a break-in service, right? I mean, and so, I don't, from the city manager's position and as, a member of our communities, I mean, we certainly don't want to see that happen. But I mean, it does take the time. In addition to that, we have to set a budget amendment. We'll have to post that budget amendment. There's a lot of things that we will have to, the potential of entering into a lease agreement to have another ambulance operate. We have to post, a public hearing on that, agreement. And so the things that we're talking about is there's timing. And so it's just, if we can get this information coming in and we can start getting that timeline narrowed down, so we can collaborate on getting that transition completed.
I know we all agree that obviously we cannot not have service. But I guess I look at all kind of options that might come down into the future. Say an extension goes through and here we sit with a date in September and then we hear 2 weeks before we have nothing. Where we sit now, and where we sit now, we don't have budget for ambulance service because we've been going towards our main goal of switching that over, which is great, but did we not know 3 months ago that nothing was being completed from our MOU? And what confidence do I have in looking at an extension that, as Larry said, that we could possibly get this done by the 28th and some documents in? I don't know. Those are kind of the questions that I
have to think through all of the meetings that we had, but one of the meetings, after the meeting, I asked the question, are employees eligible for IPERS? And the request came, or I asked that during the meeting, and then the request came for me to get the forms or the process necessary. And I delivered those forms to the agency, and indeed the employees are eligible for IPERS. So we know that, but that's one benefit of many. That I don't know where we stand on health insurance. I don't know where we stand on workers' comp insurance. If there has been a dissolving of the ambulance board, I don't know that. what we went into the meeting, so I'll also ask Dan to comment on your question here. But we went into the meeting on the 8th, and the answer was that we're not ready on these points of the memorandum of understanding. And I said there is a provision in the memorandum of understanding that the agency is to give the city notice, a written notice requesting an extension of time, and that had not occurred at this point. I think the potential motion tonight puts in place that we're requiring things to be submitted to us so that we can act accordingly. But Dan, you may want to comment on that.
Yeah, no, Mayor, you've summarized it well. Again, I think that they do have that right under the MOU to request an extension. Hindsight being 2020, if I could turn back time, we did that MOU while working on the settlement agreement and 2080 and everything all at once. If I could turn back time, I would have put on perhaps a 60-day notice or something to that effect. I would have added that in there. We did add in writing. So I wish that had been the case, but unfortunately can't change that now. So they do at least have that ability to request the extension. I do think that, well, obviously they have made that request. And so the next step is kind of trying to navigate that and facilitate the continuation of services.
See, there was a letter submitted, wasn't there?
Now,
Yes.
not before the June 8th meeting.
No, but since then,
There's been an email submitted to us.
Yeah. In that email, there was a short letter. And I can't remember who exactly signed it off the top of my head, but it was from the agency.
Basically saying that they need an extension, is that what it was about?
Yes, it does not contain what areas are
Finished.
incompleted and
Okay.
which ones are completed.
Okay.
I believe that would we put on that when you have an opportunity. The email that we provided with the recommendations, I thought we had put that packet in there of correspondence. If not, then please reach out to me. But
The letter that I sent to I don't believe that has been shared with council. So yes, that should be shared with council.
It's like a fire.
It's in
Like
the
a
email.
fire.
Yeah.
It's in the email.
It's in my email.
It's in the email from city manager Geertz. not
Oh,
from
okay,
city
all right,
clerk. It's
okay,
from the
yeah.
city manager.
I thought I
Okay.
read something. Okay, sorry.
So the email provided was the confidential memo from our city attorney. And along with that, an outline for the extension. And then I included the email correspondence and the request for the extension from the agency from Ms. Sazmazer, provided that. And in addition, I believe I shared that we followed up with our response for you to review. But again,
Yes,
And then within an extension, the city would continue to cover service by providing funding. But then when we would say items are met, things roll through, switch happens. When it comes to funding, how does that, are we reimbursed for that?
that's the
Providing
part
service.
we're going to have an agreement on, as the funding for this to continue operating as the way it is no longer available. And so therefore, that's part of the response is needing to have the agency identify, how we're going to carry, operations, if it continues under the city.
Basically, we're running a tab.
And if it continues under the city and say the extension deadline comes and there needs to be another extension, we would just have to do another budget amendment, but I feel like our budget already, along with our supervisors, have all worked very hard to make what we have happen. Allie over there at the library.
Right. Yes, I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, our,
It's,
Yeah.
this is just, I want to have confidence that, because I believe in, the handover and switching over and everybody having service, providing service and working together in partnerships. I'm surprised. I'm just surprised here and I don't have much faith to go off of, I guess. It's nice, Larry, to hear that, this could be done at the end of June, but if this can all be done and met by the end of June, how come I have nothing to look at and see that has been completed in preparation towards that?
Well, part of it, we changed the, 28E, we thought there should be some amendments to that, and that slowed things down. I mean,
And I understand the hiccup of like the ambulance and
yeah,
force.
yeah, I mean, a lot of things could happen, but I mean, we're looking at this extension to maybe help us out for 1 or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't think it'll anywhere go 90 days, but
I'm
I mean,
pretty
you don't
sure,
know.
I can't remember if it was Brett or maybe Chief Sickles or one of the Sickles, I don't remember. But a couple months ago, I thought that somebody had said that they had gotten the go-ahead to bill through Medicare. But
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they just haven't written it
Yeah,
down and
that's
provided
happening, I
it.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that it probably is just probably a letter, like
Yeah.
verifying that from our
I
medical.
think they were still waiting on the ambulance.
Right.
Because
That was before the ambulance broke down.
Correct.
Right.
And then once the ambulance was no longer operable,
Mhm.
then, I think that is the that's what they're working on now is the agency will take ownership or over the ambulance that was bought by the association. And then once the agency has ownership of an ambulance, I think that was all they needed to have in order to complete that application process.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but that's just it, it hasn't been completed yet, or if it has been completed, then that's why we're responding saying, just get us that information, so
Yeah.
we know it's been completed as part of our due diligence.
Yeah.
And then, these other things as well, because that's within our MOU and that's what the city and that's what's agreed upon to say, we need to have the evidence that those things have been done. And like I said, these are doable, and it could be that they're just, like, no one planned that the ambulance was gonna break down. I mean, things were transacting and then that happened, so that set them back. It's just, but now we're really down to the wire and again, whether it's 1 or 2 weeks, we still have to have, how we're gonna operate, we have to establish a budget. Those are things that we have to also consider. We as a city have to communicate to the employees and the volunteers, about staffing and likewise at that, we had to reach out to our insurance company. And so we have, so as we've already notified them and put them on notice, because that will change our policies and it's with workman's comp and with our insurance coverage. So, I mean, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving parts, but it's also gonna be the same as when we hit the transition too. So that's where timing is essential to know, so we can get everything done, so we don't have a gap in anything. And most importantly, impacting the public with the service that we're
That's the
providing.
most.
And then our staffing that is providing that service.
Are there other questions or comments?
Mayor, I have one question.
Yes.
The 28 agreement that the lawyer, he has sent that back with some amendments. Could that be will the board be able to take our board be able to take the next step to see if that's okay, and then we can move forward and try to get this done by the end of June?
Larry, or Dan, did you hear the question from Larry?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close on it. I had started a lot on kind of switching it to an addendum format. Anyways, I paused when I recognized the challenge with the MOU, but I think we can get that. I can probably get that squared away here by the end of the week and get that back to you, Mayor.
And it's
do our
not,
best to keep going then.
yeah.
But I still think we would like to see something that would cover our, you know what, until we get to the end of the month.
I think the most important thing here is, and the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we don't have these things by June 30th, then we don't transfer the service.
Right.
The only thing that it leaves us, in a situation is, you know, how do we pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think that the point needs to be is that if these things don't occur and if we don't have the extension and we don't have all of these things, formalities, the service isn't gonna end because the city's not transferring our service. So we're still gonna continue to operate that service, I think. But again, we can't operate that service if we don't have staff and we don't have, you know, the volunteers understanding that we still have the service, so.
So can I move to?
Yeah.
Okay, so or
Unless
do we
there's
already
further-
have a?
We have no motion on the floor, so unless there's further discussion, but then please, you're recognized for a motion.
So I'll move to approve the extension of the EMS service transition deadline from June 30th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. to September 30th, 2026 at the 11:59 p.m. subject to the following conditions. Do I read all of the conditions,
I think
Shari?
so.
Yeah, okay. The agency must fully satisfy and provide documented evidence of all required conditions presented, identified, and including but not limited to ambulance district dissolution confirmation, employee compensation and benefits plan, Medicare and Medicaid billing authority, and all additional items outlined in the required next steps. There's quotes around that. Number 2, all required materials and documentation must be submitted to the city no later than June 28th for a review and verification by city staff and legal counsel, and failure to meet the above conditions and deadline will result in the automatic expiration of the extension, and the EMS services shall remain under the city until such items and all conditions are satisfied and formally approved. Number 4 is approval of this extension does not constitute approval of any 28E agreement amendment or final transfer of EMS services and remains subject to all required approvals under the existing agreement and applicable law, period. The end.
Second. And moved and seconded, so the clerk will call the roll.
Shiltz,
Yes.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Next up is item 8C, resolution 2026-0616-353, a resolution to approve and accept the bid from MJ Electric for the electric portion of the East 6th Street reconstruction project from Columbus Street to Corn Street in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Dominguez,
No.
motion passes 4-1.
Next up is resolution 2026-0616-354, a resolution for disposal of old computers located in the city administration building and storage in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? I'd forgotten about some of the names that were mentioned on those computers. Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Dominguez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
McFerrin,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Next up is resolution 2026-060-16-355, a resolution to transfer funds for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Parizek,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next up is resolution 2026-0616-356, a resolution approving the selection of the financial institution for banking and depository services and authorizing execution of necessary banking documents. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yeah, since I'm not sure of the institutions, I was unable to be at the finance meeting. I assume that most of them are in town institutions. Looks.
I had a yellow piece of paper there on your desk that identified,
Oh,
because we're not able to publicly announce the institutions.
okay. So,
I can answer that though, Kara.
Mhm.
Two of the institutions have brick and mortar buildings in town.
Mhm.
All three of the institutions have community investment in the town. Longstanding community investment.
okay. So the third one is an out of town institution. Yeah. Okay. So what was, again, was it just a better across the board for the choice, or can we find out if one of the in-towns could waive the cost and fees? Or, I mean, or are we going to approve two institutions? Don't we normally get two institutions for banking?
so the matrix provides a scoring mechanism based on what was presented in the RFP. And what was presented by the financial institutions. And a bigger part of this is rate driven by our funds that are in those financial institutions, and it provides us an opportunity to help close in some of the gap of our loss in our general fund revenues by being able to receive interest revenue off of the money that is not being, cash flowed. But even while it's sitting there as we're waiting on transactions, it's an opportunity that we're going to more than double our revenue just off of interest alone. And then in addition to that, there's also some technicality types of services when it comes to mostly this is a relationship between the finance officer and the financial institutions when it comes to being able to process things in a most efficient way and a secure way. And there's tools and resources that the scoring is based on what they can provide. We have institution B and C that are running very closely together, but it's mostly driven by, interest rates and again, fees. When we took what the fees were based on what the interest that was gonna be received, we were losing that revenue that we would look to think that we were gaining. So that is the reason why institution C became more attractive, especially when they were more apples to apples between B and C, is the best way I can say this. But in addition to that, C provided a recommendation, which the clerk and myself, and I think Councilmember Dominguez agreed that they highly recommended that we have a transaction account in addition to you know, having one financial institution to make sure that you have another transaction account for the cash. I mean, because we do, we are unique because we have a high cash transaction base in our community. And with that said, you know, a lot of other entities mostly deal in credit card, debit card, and checks. But our unique is we have a community that prefers to, you know, manage cash versus those items. It has been changing quite a bit over the years, but we still have a large amount of cash transaction. And there's always a need to have a transactional account, you know, within your vicinity, but again, so that would be something that we would definitely want to look at, and I think we would mention it about having two financial institutions. Plus, it's also important not to put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. So, and again, FDIC has, you know, stipulations when it comes to public money and how that has to be handled. And all three of those institutions are FDIC assured, of course. But also there's that due diligence of for the city not to put all those eggs in one basket and then, you know, put ourselves and our public monies at risk. And also taking away from those, you know, clients of those institutions because you cannot lend money. It's expensive money for them, but at the same time, they're all willing to offer, you know, what they're willing to offer, knowing that, you know, it's going to cost them to hold our money versus not. I don't know how. I have to be careful how you say that.
I just saw that institution B offered the highest projected financial return. That's what kind of sparked my interest, thinking, wouldn't that be put it at a different level?
B then because of fees, then B
It's like $4,000 a
reduces
year in fees, whereas the other two institutions waive their fees.
With a greater yield from interest, though, I don't have a calculator. How would that wash out? I guess a couple things come to mind in considering this is just for the community, obviously, with AI happening at a great rate, you have much more fraud. What's going to provide the greatest fraud protection? Greatest evolution of fraud protection moving into the future, and of course, what's going to have the greatest financial return for the city. Seeing this option, institution B seems to have the greater fraud protection and technology compared to A or C, and then with the greater yield, I'm seeing a greater financial yield from institution B. But I understand what you're saying when it comes to fees, of course, but I would be kind of curious where that washout number is in compared with the fees and the yield.
And that is listed on there. You can see the differential is calculated based off of the same amount. So within this section, Dana has my paper, but within the section,
Karen has it now.
The very top page, the top section of it breaks it down, and then the next section has the fees in it, so you can see the differential. So up on the top line, there's the section that shows the differential in the percentage yield, and then the next section below is showing you the differential for the fee portion of it.
Being at the meeting, I thought all three institutions were great, but the huge thing was the interest rates for B and C is almost triple. What A was, and B and C also was able to provide that safety of that money market sweep. So, on the weekends or after hours, if we had things go through, it would protect us from going overdrawn.
Which one exams?
B and C both offer that, yes, which is huge, right? So that was a huge win for me. the only difference, and I let V and Sherry both know, like, I trust you that have to work with the money and understand, fully and trust the recommendation you would make, but just on paper, the only difference I see is that C has a long history of being local, staying local, has a huge shareholder. Their biggest shareholders are their employees, which is huge and unheard of. So they've invested thousands of dollars into our community, which they provided during the presentation.
Do we
and-
have B's late investment?
No, we don't.
We're comparing B.
Yes, and it could be, we just didn't get that information. But B also is going through a merger of a national organization, which could change, I'm not saying they would, they could be committed to local control as well, but in my eyes, when another organization takes over, things change.
I guess my question to you would be like, obviously we choose one institution this year, and next year can we switch an institution? Like, depending on how things go, or is there like a certain yearly standard that we have to abide by?
I think we would be in a better position to identify two and make a financial decision. Like you said, having a transaction account and having a primary account. And then that also allows us time to work with both those institutions. And if things don't come to fruition or things aren't as they say, then because we have an approval to work with both those institutions, then we're not having to go to the RFP again because we will already have those relationships. If that,
Our action item isn't to choose. Correct, it's just to
choose one,
the
yeah.
one.
So the bottom,
But the motion hasn't been made, so you could make a motion.
at the very bottom of your resolution, it has a section on it where it's stating the city council hereby approves the selection of that portion for the position of banking and depository services. You can insert two of those there. That's why it is left blank for you to make that decision. It is council's decision what direction you would like to go. The recommendations are just based off of the information provided. But at the end of the day, it is council's decision what direction you want to go, and then city staff will follow that direction.
Okay.
All three institutions have donated considerable amounts of money, in my opinion, to the community, and projects in the community.
And then I guess with like, if we were to go with two institutions, how much more of a workload would that put on our staff? Or would it make it easier?
It actually makes it easier because, well, go ahead. You know what, I mean, unless you want me to say what I think is the right answer. I would say from what because I kind of asked that same question, it sounds like it would make it easier because we would have access to our cash deposits immediately. We would have great partners from two institutions. What else?
Well, we have we have a rapport with, of course, all institutions, but BNC, we have, they provide very competitive investment rates. So we already have like our restricted funds, our certificate deposits are already invested. In addition to that, they also are carrying our bonds, as well. And a part of that also provides that we're not having to manually go with the relationship with BNC. That would take away from us having to manually go have a transaction to take care of bond payments. It also allows us to incorporate more efficiencies with ACH or electronic transactions that can move us away from paper checks. But both B and C provided more of that fraudulent protection and the protection of having that dual control still in place. In fact, they had more of an internal audit process than what institution A had, if I'm
Yes,
sharing
that
that
is correct.
So if I wanted to make a motion, could I just slightly change that? What's on here in the agenda, or we just have to vote that down and then
So the bottom portion of it is what you are going to communicate for that motion that you're going to make. So when you make the actual action item, you are going to say the name of those financial institutions.
the bottom of what would you?
Of your resolution, where it's blank at the bottom of it, it says the city council hereby approves the selection of, and then there's a blank, and then it says for the provision of banking and depository services. What you put in there is the motion that is going to solidify it.
Okay. Well, it's not exactly what I was
Yes.
wanting, actually.
Well,
I was really wanting to maintain the existing banking accounts with the community bank. And then if we can go with what you wanted to do with C, that would be fine. And then just have
That
both.
is not a, so the items that you were looking at with B, that is for all of the accounts to be there. C is the only one that was offering for us to have multiple accounts at different financial institutions.
So, well, see, I'm confused because in the past, we've had both banking institutions in town that we've.
Certificates of deposit are at other financial institutions.
Right.
Transactional accounts are solely in one financial institution.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Okay. So would that be then a different motion? Would that be a different resolution? For the CDs and all that investments?
Are separate from this. This is transactional based accounts.
Only, okay.
Yes, this is not so the resolution that we do for banking that has the breakdown for what we can invest or hold at each of the financial institutions allows that investment deposit.
I mean, B and C are both really good, but I just have, I don't know, I just think that, in town is really good.
And that is your decision as council. You can make whatever recommendation that you want. You can make the motion and city staff will follow whatever direction that is.
I would just try to reference this in a so when we're talking about a community bank, you're talking about a bank that is actually it's not about bricks and mortar. You're talking about the shareholders and the investors that are in the community and that it only serves within your radius of that community. The other financial institutions are not a community. They have bricks and mortar. That does not, they're just as community as the one that doesn't have its bricks and mortar because of their investments within your community.
But B has investments in our community.
All of them have investments in our community.
Okay.
They're serving your community members, they're serving your constituents. Your constituents bank with all three of those financial institutions.
But I'm wondering if it's a board situation, if one board is made of Iowans in the community and one board is made of board members all over the United States.
Yeah, I guess that's the unknown right now.
Well, how far has many boards in Iowa gotten Iowans?
I think the bigger part is we have to look into the consist. I mean, for me, for the clerk and myself, and I would invite the clerk to share this. I mean, it's here all the time, get creative to find the money that you're going to have to replace that your general fund's not going to have. And part of that creativity is looking at making the money that we are restricted to use, or making the money that we're currently not using, earn something.
Right.
So we can, put back the revenue that we're no longer getting from our property tax reform. In addition to that, even when we were getting taxes, we're still, it's still difficult. But this is one way that we can identify how we can, we're still banking locally, with a bank that serves the community. In addition to that, if we look at moving the transactional items to a bank B, then we have a percentage that we're still performing, that if in your perception or feeling that it's a local bank, then we still are serving that within bricks and mortar within our community.
But with B, we won't have that option.
Right.
It's like all of the eggs have to be in B, and we go
Uh-huh.
with B. But if we choose C, we can still put some of our eggs into B, because C is allowing us to do that.
And still be able to get what they have proposed.
Okay. All right.
Very good way, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, allowed to make a comment?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanna clarify, so it's not necessarily that all of the eggs have to be in the basket for institution B. For institution B, we would just require the main operating account in order to gain that interest from that money market. That allows you to have the access to the LGIP account that has that high dividend rate. So it's not that you have to have everything with us, it's we just need that operating account in order to offer that money market dividends.
And that's separate from our investment.
Yeah.
So the operational is separate from the investment, yes. So they're two different things when you're looking at that. This right here is just simply for our
transaction. For day-to-day transactions, our revenues and expenditure flows coming in on a daily basis.
And then I do also want to point out, if possible, so the investments that we've made in the community were in our proposal. So just within the last year, we've donated $25,000 to the library renovation and $15,000 to the children's playground. And we're very active in boards, organizations, Fair Parade, Children's Festival, all of those things. We're very active participants in those as well.
I would take that as 35,000 within 1 year's time. 40,000 within 1 year's time.
And I think if it makes a difference, C had shared, at least in the last 5 years, they had accumulated for at least 45,000.
In how many years?
Five.
Yeah, that was the thing, DNC they scored very, very close, and the only thing is, it was just pretty much the interest side of it, was what.
The one thing I did like about C, which B may have as well, but it just wasn't brought up, is the educational component. Like, they are very, very good, have a great track record of providing workshops and financial literacy for their clientele. They go to rural communities to provide that. They're also building a center for the community members to go and learn about finances and for that financial education. It's like a huge investment in the community. Not in West Liberty, it will be in Iowa City, but yeah. Which I thought was really cool. It was very, very focused on local. Like, I could picture our own residents like benefiting from going to a workshop provided by this bank in their beautiful new center. And advancing their own knowledge with finance and things like that. Which they probably will provide anyway, whether we choose them or not, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there further discussion? Is there a motion?
You want me to make a motion, Kara, or did you want to make a motion?
You go ahead. Because I can't change anything. So.
Again.
So if you do not, if council is not all on the same page, then we would vote it down. And then it would have to come back before council again, rewritten in a different format. So it's completely council's decision. If you want to make the motion to go with B, then you make that motion. If you want the motion to go A, if you want the motion to go C, whatever direction council wants to go, it is your decision. But once you make that motion, make sure that you use the financial institution's name that you are selecting.
Yep, that's all the clerk and I are saying is that not everybody has the opportunity to have three financial institutions, let alone two that are so close like that, that are a benefit, to our community, with everything they do. Even having people that serve on local boards, that are volunteering. Again, we are very, in rural Iowa, you're very fortunate that we have these three institutions to choose from.
And the only difference is between C and B, well, other than a merger, is the fee cost. Really. The fee cost is none with C and it's more with B.
With the higher.
Higher ACH return.
So the yields
You're
on there are broken down for you to be able to see that so if the fee portion is deducted, you can see the differential between the two of them.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the selection of Midwest One Banking and Depository Service for our banking needs.
Is there a second?
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Believe that we've had the discussion, so the clerk will call the roll.
Right. Martinez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Dominguez,
No.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Schiltz.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
We move to item 8G, resolution 2026-0616-357, a resolution to accept change order number 1 from Triple B Construction for the East 6th Street reconstruction project from Columbus Street to Carn Street in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
So what's the change order? It's
So,
trenching?
yeah, it'll be the trenching, and that is, and the bigger picture, it will save us money. Because we don't have to mobilize a separate trencher for the electric work.
Or a separate contractor?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Schiltz,
Yes.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Dominguez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we are now to resolution 2026 0616-358. That should, I'm reading the wrong, I'm sorry. We're now on resolution 2026-0616-358. a resolution to approve bid extension and costs associated with extension of the water treatment plant baseline improvement project phase 1 in the city of West Liberty. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
So this is roll call.
It's the motion to approve. He's on the motion and second right now.
Sorry.
Then we move to discussion.
So this is, the bidder had provided, the contractor provided us an extension of 30 days. And the costs were still well within what the original bids came in. And that is providing us an opportunity to continue to work with West Liberty Foods to come to an agreement before we contract with them, for the project.
Is there further discussion?
So the requested bid extension price increase, that is just an increase because
Every day it's a cost.
Cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the total is the 11,000. On
Yeah.
that resolution,
But-
there's 2 different items on there that deducted to make it that amount.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And still they're still under the other 2 bidders that originally bid that project, even with those additional costs for the extension. It does not say that, that we still may have to open it up and rebid it. We're hoping not to, but it's all dependent on whether, where we can get to as far as, agreements, because right now that is the more affordable contractor, and it meets our timeline requirements and all of the requests within that construction packet.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
McFerrin,
Yes.
Shiltz,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Parizek,
Yes.
Dominguez.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we are now to item I, set the date for the budget amendment public hearing, and our first council meeting in July is on the 7th, and so we will do that as part of that council minutes unless there is dissent to doing that.
So in just, the reason why the budget is, that's geared around the ambulance.
Yep.
So that way we'll be prepared.
Okay, item J, a follow-up to set the council utility committee and buildings and grounds meetings.
We just didn't have everybody here at the last
Yep.
meeting, and so this is just a reminder that we need to get those 2 committee meetings set. I know that the summertime is sometimes a difficult time, but we have the report coming back on the natural gas upgrade, and then with building and grounds to discuss on the pool, and then update on our building here. So here.
For the utility committee, Karen, you're with me on that, right?
Yes.
I do have some greater availability next week, depending, of course, on staff.
Okay.
And you're with me on the building grounds.
Yeah.
And I'll be leaving for vacation in 2 days, and I won't be back till our next meeting.
Oh, okay. And we need to, the buildings and grounds, is there a deadline on that one?
No, and then that may work out okay because we could potentially have a report back on the pool.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I think we were,
So,
And so,
I'm trying to
yes, it's the second meeting in July.
yeah. So that
so,
would give us time to hopefully get a full report. The other part was giving an update on the facility here. Yeah. I think we'll be okay.
so maybe we could have it like 20th, 21st, 22nd, something like that of July, is that what? she's saying?
Probably you said you return
I come back on the 6th.
on the 6th,
On
so,
Oh, okay,
so probably within that next week.
that week. 13th, 14th, 5th, well, that is fair week, by the way. Just, I don't know if you have it or.
Right.
Well, you guys can
Yeah.
work together
Yeah,
and then
okay.
just send the
Yeah.
city manager and myself emails so that I can get those
Okay.
scheduled with the agendas, okay?
Okay.
Ideally, probably before the second meeting in July, if at all possible.
Okay.
Possible.
Okay, previews. Are we done with setting the minute meetings? Okay. The previous council meeting, we did talk about some action regarding life raft, but I'm not sure we have to take any action at the July 7th meeting.
We will be able to continue on forward because everything is not gonna need council approval at this point.
So we will have the amendment on the budget, which we don't think we can do until after July 1st, because it's next year's budget, not this year's budget. Stay tuned on issues with the leasing of the ambulance. We may need a special meeting to deal with that.
And we're currently proposing June 30th for the special meeting. We would just say to be prepared for that. So we're having to enter an extension and the timeline for the lease agreement public notice. I know that we have a big celebration coming up for the 250th before our next meeting.
Yeah.
So that'll be at the Heritage Park.
Yeah. Yeah, the Heritage Foundation has taken the lead and have quite a few exciting things, I think, proposed for that day.
In addition to that, let me see, I had Phil, congratulations, Phil conquered the Iowa Workforce Grant for Depop Child.
With like a lot of help, you know.
And
Yeah.
so we did get that submitted and we're currently anxiously awaiting for the catalyst that we filed for the Frank Wagner and Emily Geertz on their
We subvert agency.
Yeah.
Our team.
yes.
Sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll hear some good news back on that.
We'll know by the end of this month about the catalyst grant. We won't know until I think August, September on the workforce housing.
You just need to put your ear to the ground a little closer.
I know,
I know, right?
no.
Yeah, so.
Are we having a work session at the second of July, the second meeting in July, Stephen?
Well, you're in charge. I'm on rank, right?
Brad. I think on the next meeting, could we get an update on our training for officers?
Oh, how that's going on the training. Yeah, absolutely.
For next
Yeah, I
year?
just have to, yeah, we can certainly do that in a way, we don't wanna hinder anything that would be performance or employee related, but we can do that. Yeah. I'm looking over at Lieutenant Schmidt to make sure I can,
Who's present?
yeah,
Okay.
everything I'll get us out of here so we can, but again, I wanna say thank you to Lieutenant Schmidt, and his team, the sheriff's team, we've had folks in, they've been very much assisting us in getting some organization. We're getting things directed to where they need to be going. And our Officer Frommel and Officer Sela are, doing great and working. And I think that they're also learning some things from Lieutenant Schmidt as well with him here. And things are moving along. We had a meeting with the Muscatine County Fair Director last week and had a really positive conversation in preparation for that event coming. So yeah, things are going well. Okay.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. And I
You guys are both sitting next